Summary of the previous events. War rose up against heaven, and Lucifer descended to stop it. Thanks to Gok, a victory was turned from defeat. Just as Gok was about to execute war, Conquest arrived. Did he bring news of heaven's victory? Conquest arrived, his presence cutting through the darkened clouds of the sky. His radiance shone brightly, the light of hope and glorious victory, undimmed by the storm. Gok continued with his task, preparing to present war's head before the gates of heaven as a warning to others. Crash! An arrow shot like lightning toward Gok, forcing the god to draw his sword to block it. Immediately, another arrow followed, but Gok managed to open a defensive spatial portal just in time. Conquest, are you insane? Do you want to cause chaos? Lucifer, enraged at the sight, shouted out, clutching his chest. The wound he had sustained was still healing, but his energy had significantly diminished, making the healing process slow. The god of White Horse smiled, dismounted, and surveyed the three of them, giving no explanation or justification for his earlier actions. Gok remained cautious of this figure, for he and Amigo were former gods who hadn't participated in the battle, so their true strength remained a mystery. Conquest broke the heavy silence with a burst of laughter, then looked at War. I just saved you, you know that? Yes, I know. But why? Aren't you the one who flatters heaven, the one with that deceitful tongue? War struggled to keep his composure, exhausted. His power had clearly waned after leaving his current weapon. Conquest approached and gestured for War to dismount. Reluctantly, he complied, as Conquest had shown no malice. He was curious to see what this old god wanted from him now. With a gesture of his hand toward War, the wounds began to heal more quickly, and the vitality of the god of War returned. It indicated where Conquest was. Gok watched closely and spoke with a slight smile. No matter what happens, you know I can still crush both of you. True, but may I ask you a few questions, noble Gok? Gok still firmly held the Acanian sword, gradually channeling energy into it, always ready to strike a blow that could shake the very heavens if that old man or the defeated fool made a move. Of course, Conquest noticed this and began his questioning. Gok, your task is to open the gates of heaven for the angelic army, isn't it? Yes. Then, where were you when the city of Alcadia, home of the Nelphim, was attacked? Gok raised an eyebrow, his hand slowly lowering the sword. The god seemed to be troubled, his eyes looking away. War, suddenly filled with fury, shouted. Because that damn army was marching in hell, fighting against the three great demon gods. Oh, those three demons were sealed long ago. Didn't you know? But he said. War pointed toward Lucifer, but his voice faltered. Conquest smiled, and Lucifer's face turned pale. It seemed there was something hidden here. Gok glanced at Lucifer, who was shaking his head as if trying to hide something. Conquest emphasized. You see, Gok, that army didn't go anywhere, did it? That's right. Why? War's anger surged even further, heaven's indifference and lies fueling his rage. Conquest grabbed War's shoulders and whispered into his ear. They were there, watching the Nelphim people die, every last one of them, for the greater purpose of heaven, right, Lucifer. Shut up. Lucifer erupted in fury. Conquest's greatest power was negotiation, and his terrible tongue had sparked countless wars and disasters. Now, it was about to push war's wrath to its breaking point, as the god's eyes burned with fiery rage, seemingly wanting to tear apart the hidden truth. Conquest continued. Lucifer, why don't you tell everyone the truth? Ever since God departed, heaven has no longer welcomed holy souls into the ranks of the angels. Only the people of Nelphim possess such pure souls. And you conspired with the barbaric Felphim to exterminate them and seize their souls for yourself. The heavens trembled as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling. Gok drove his sword deep into the ground, opening a rift in space. Luke, realizing the impending doom, stretched out his hand in desperation, his voice filled with panic as he called out to Gok. No. You can't abandon me. This was for the good of heaven. That race had to be sacrificed so that we could grow stronger. Only then could Earth be truly at peace under our rule. Gok, standing at the threshold of the portal, turned his back on Lucifer. His voice was calm, unwavering. No. Earth has already learned to sustain itself. I am merely the one who records its fate. That is all. With those final words, Gok stepped through the portal, and it slowly began to close, just like Lucifer's last glimmer of hope. War stepped forward, gripping the hilt of the Acanian sword, his entire being burning with fury. Lucifer, realizing his fate, desperately tried to move away, but the warhorse surged forward, cutting off his retreat. The moment of reckoning had come. War advanced, flames engulfing his body, his heart heavy with the burdens of betrayal, deceit, and centuries of suffering. His people, his land, his divine nature, all had been stolen from him. It would all end today. The curse he bore as a god would finally be lifted. War kicked Lucifer to the ground and pressed the tip of his sword against the fallen archangel's throat. His voice was filled with scorn. Any last words, you wretched filth? Suddenly, Lucifer let out a maniacal laugh, his voice echoing through the desolate battlefield. Then, he spoke. Yes. I gave the order. But do you want to hear the whole story? War scoffed, looking down at him with contempt. Speak, then. Let's hear what you have to say. But don't think it will change anything. Lucifer's eyes gleamed with malice as he began. I opened the gates so the barbarians could slaughter your people, but only half of them. After Gok abandoned me in his disillusionment, I sent forces to aid them. But halfway through, something happened. Someone else acted first. The massacre was swift, absolute. Tell me, War, do you know who it was? Who else? Who took part in the extermination of my people? It was you, Beovis. Lucifer roared. You wielded this very sword and slaughtered them in a bloodthirsty frenzy. You were entranced by the ancient demon. Have you never questioned why this sword can summon the souls of your own people? Is it not true that it can only summon the souls it has consumed? Lucifer's words struck like thunder. War's grip on his sword weakened, his eyes widening in disbelief. The memories, ones he had long sealed away, came crashing back in waves of blood and guilt. Everything Lucifer said was true. Questions flooded his mind, suffocating him. War clutched his head, staggering under the weight of the revelation. At that precise moment, Lucifer, having secretly healed his wounds, seized the opportunity. In a swift motion, he grabbed the divine sword and slashed at War. But Conquest was faster. The seasoned warrior lunged forward, shoving War out of harm's way just in time. Lucifer barely had a moment to react before a storm of glowing arrows rained down upon him, Conquest's legendary barrage, one of his most devastating techniques. Lucifer struggled to fend off the relentless assault, his movements slowing under the overwhelming pressure. Meanwhile, Conquest desperately tried to snap War out of his daze. No one noticed the sky darkening. The soft patter of raindrops began to fall. A chilling omen. A harbinger of an unfathomable darkness. Death had arrived. And more. Please press subscribe to give me more motivation to continue writing the story.